Humphrey, I am invested.
What?
I am invested in Valiant.
Oh, okay. So we started like this.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that I was scrolling through my Facebook as you do, and I came across, because they have that whole new thing about someone's big is going to die in the new whatever.
Oh yeah, and the
crossover,
Renegades, I think. Yeah.
And I saw the tombstone with Toyo Harada, and I audibly gasped.
Yeah, no, but you checked the other ones, right?
Yeah, I saw that it was just basically one for every person, but I was scrolling through it and just saw it, and I literally gasped. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually invested right now.
You actually care about a fictional character.
I actually care.
Nice. Hello and welcome to Hardcast, where we get to name drop more dead celebrities than we thought possible. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I'm Christian Claus.
Lifeline. Give me Archer and Armstrong, Volume 6, American Wasteland. Right. Well, it's so first of all, just nice to hear what you had to say there, Chris.
Yeah.
But on to the actual volume.
Yeah.
I really like this volume.
I loved it too.
It's just, as I wrote down here, it's, I really like this volume due to its strangeness, but still being consistent in terms of theme.
Yes.
Like it's
not definitely.
It's not just what about this thing happens or these creatures come. It's like, well, no, they have an idea here, and they push it really far to to silliness, but they make a point with it.
Yeah, I was just reading this page for page, and I just enjoying it more and more. I was just constantly like reading it, just like this is so good. This is just so much fun. I don't know. I really liked it.
So I actually wrote down here too. I honestly, the whole idea of these, dead celebrities like hanging out like this.
Yeah.
I love to see a movie or like a TV show with that premise, like without Archer and Armstrong.
Yeah. I mean, it was just fun. I mean, it was especially fun trying to decipher who all these people were, because obviously they are caricatures of their, of their celebrities. So you don't really know who they are, but I was kind of wondering when I saw the first one where we didn't really know what was going on. I actually wrote down that question because I wanted to ask you if you even knew who that was, because I thought it was going to be like a one-time thing. And then when all the other people came, I'm like, oh God, I mean, Humphrey's not going to know like half of these people.
No, dude, I have a list here of the ones I recognized.
Oh really? Okay, well, it'll be nice to go through that then when we get to it.
So but I mean, since we're kind of discussing it here, this is the ones I managed to recognize.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong with some of them, though.
Okay.
At the top of my head, the ones not named, so was it Biggie Smalls and Tupac?
You recognized them?
Well, I've just watched the South Park and what's called...
Oh, okay. Because I really thought that you were not going to recognize
Not
them.
the first time when I read this, like years ago.
Okay.
But since then, I guess my hip-hop culture has been expanded. I mean, Elvis is very clear there, so no points for him.
Of course.
Let's see. Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Jimi Hendrix, I'm assuming, with the cloves. Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, well, that was easy.
Bruce and Brandon Lee.
Yeah, of course.
Freddie Mercury. John Lennon, but he's more like in the background.
Yeah.
And I believe that the fat guy is supposed to be John Candy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And those are the ones that weren't named, so that I could recognize.
And of course, Jackie Kennedy.
So but they were named there, I feel so.
Well, Jackie Kennedy was never.
But with John F. Kennedy there, and then her getting shot by it was easy enough to decipher. And that concept too there. I mean, that's what I mean. What I liked about this, it was such a creepy scenario.
Yeah, because I was also looking at it going like when they started off with the whole thing with Oswald, when he came in and he gave that as the reason why he's like shooting her now. I was like, wait a minute, is that actually like a theory? And then I was also like, wait, are they now saying that this was the reason because he's here now, so he can say why he did it. But then with all these other Oswalds coming in and then all having their own conspiracy theories, and it just made so much sense as well, because they were like, well, there's one for each conspiracy theory because they're connected to the imagination or the fans that they have. So obviously the fan of the Oswald who killed John F. Kennedy because it was for the null obviously that one would exist, and then the others would exist as well because they're all fans of those people. And it was just so smart and so interesting. I loved this comic.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, it's one of those. I mean, Archer and Armstrong work well with this. It doesn't feel like they're unnecessary. But that's what I meant with, like, this concept is something I'd love to see, you know. And again, I feel it's different from the times I say, like, I want to see, like, the film version of it.
But you didn't even mention Michael Jackson, did you?
Oh, I mean, I did recognize him, but I didn't write him down. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he's there, you know, with his...
And I think that next to Marilyn Monroe, I think that kind of cut off. I think that's Sid Vicious.
So maybe I don't know him very well.
I think so, but yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
So...
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's what I mean, though. It's just the whole... Because it's not just, you know, like... Because we've seen stories like, you know, people in heaven or hell, you know, celebrities talking...
Yeah.
But the interesting thing here is more about this awful purgatory where it's not even them, but basically the public consciousness version of them.
Yeah.
And the idea that they just want to be forgotten.
And I just love that gag. That is one of the best. It was so funny. Just the idea that he was like, oh, yeah, I remember him. And then everyone was just like, you son of a bitch. And not only that, but they don't even know this yet. But he's immortal.
Right. He'll never, unless he actually forgets him or...
Yes. He will never die.
So, but yeah, no, that's the thing. It's an interesting setup there. Like, I don't know, it's just such a cool concept. You know, I just want to, before I forget, even though I wrote it down, let's call it...
there's Amy Winehouse as well. Amy Winehouse is in there too. I was just kind of coming through it.
Yeah, and again, you know, it's plenty. And then, of course, then Jim Morrison as the actual Lizard King.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
is that a reference to one of his songs, though?
I'm not sure. I only know him because of my dad, because he's one of his favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember much of the...
But this was something I just... The way it was framed, I just knew it had to be a reference. On page 14, panel 3... So that, you know, they're walking down the hall and they're all the pictures of retrologists.
Oh, yeah.
Those two there in panel 3.
Yeah.
The way it was framed, and specifically that left guy was at a drawing board. Mm-hmm. I looked it up. It's the artist and writer for the volume.
Oh, awesome.
So it's Perry Perez to the left and Fred Van Lente to the right.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, I just Google image searched and I'm like, yep, it's clear enough that it's them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but that's the thing. It's just a lot of fun, and again, Perry. You know, if we just talking about, you know, the artist, then in that sense, well done throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, much better than the last one. I actually had to check the previous volume that we read because I felt like the story started off a little bit too brashly because I didn't understand where we were, and his whole thing about like my mother, and I was like, wait, what? I can't remember this. Like, what do you mean they're being held by these retroologists and stuff like that? I didn't remember any of that. So I actually went back to the previous volume to just check. And that was the one where they were fighting against Bloodshot.
Yeah. Well, he basically got information from their servers.
Right. And then, oh my God, I remembered how badly drawn that was. And this was a really nice, like, well put together comic. Like, I really, really enjoyed the art here. Oh, yeah.
No, but I mean, he's, what's called... I'm not sure if I'd call him a veteran because I think I'm mixing him up with George Perez. Mm-hmm. So who worked on like Crisis on Infinite Earths and stuff like that. So, you know, he's an old timer. So, but just again, well drawn, you know, expressive, you know, detailed, you know, what's called variety as well.
Yeah.
So, but also, and not just that, but just layout stuff. I mean, that whole what's it called? The clarifying. You know, when they're holding that device and trying to do like the whole dialysis thing from Scientology. Dionysus, or whatever it's called, but the e-reader thing. Yeah, exactly.
The thetan level. Yeah, and it was kind of interesting. They really did their research on this because they really did it well with the way that the questions are being asked. Because I think, do you remember this? But my dad actually got audited.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it.
Yeah, by Scientology. We actually have the book somewhere in our library, I guess. You know, my dad is not a Scientologist, obviously, but he's, you know...
He just likes it ironically.
No, but it was like when he was young. I think it was like he was in Munich when he was in the 80s or whatever. He young, and then he and a buddy walked past one of these Scientology places, and they're like, "Hey, are you bored? Yeah, you want to come in and have a personality test? Sure." And then my dad just kind of laughed and left, and he got one of those books, I guess, to take along or whatever. So now it's just in our library somewhere. But the questions seem to, because I also watched a couple of documentaries on Scientology, and the way that they're pushing the questions, like how they kind of dodge the question and it gets asked again, but in the exact same way. That's something that actual Scientologists also do, which I think was really interesting. They really showed that they researched the parody that they were making, or well, how would you call it? It's not really a parody.
No, like a satire or deconstruction or critique of it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, but I guess like the way it's told there, it's nice having like a whole like double page spread like that. Yes, I don't know. Just seeing it that way is very enjoyable, I feel.
Yeah, and then they go into that labyrinth. And yes, I was correct, because my first question when they went into that little labyrinth thing that they're in, the first celebrity that they meet, you don't know who that is?
Kurt Cobain, right?
Oh, thank you.
Again, I don't know him enough, but it's one of those, you just know it from hearing about it.
Well, also because of context. I mean, you see his brains blown out, and you're kind of like, yeah.
That too is again an amusing thing, because you've always heard that classic, the whole idea of Elvis, Elvis sightings. Mm-hmm. So the idea that Elvis is a good escape artist, and that's why we keep hearing those stories, because he always escapes.
Oh, so that was supposed to be Elvis?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought he was supposed to be someone else because of the way he was dressed. I thought he was supposed, because I mean, a lot of guys back in the day had that slicked back hair and had that kind of attitude and the talking. So I thought it could have been someone else, like any of those guys from that era.
No, I mean, I think that especially when he runs off at the end, like stealing the car from the black woman. Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's a jab at him there. Always ripping off black folks. Yeah, which also is just like, I don't know. I mean, she must have known then that Elvis was alive in that area, because if you see Elvis, even if you're black, I doubt your first thing is going to be like, oh, hey, you're Elvis. By the way, you keep stealing black people's stuff. It's just like, really? Is that the first thing you're going to think about when you see Elvis walking around, like, was it 60, 70 years after he's died? Yeah, no, but it's for me, that's more of like the tone of the comic book. Yeah, I guess. So, yeah, no, we're a little bit like here and there with the discussion here. So, but I think that kind of fits the volume itself too, because there's so many things happening. Yeah, we're going back and forth in time as well. Exactly, which happens then later as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's I don't know, just interesting stuff going on in terms of. One thing I found really interesting, and also brings up the whole issue I've had with Archer in terms of his power level. Yeah. It's they found like an interesting way of deactivating his powers here. Because again, if he is basically unlimited potential. Mm-hmm. He was using his psyop powers a lot this time too. But the whole idea when he's in that like communications room where with Morrison is like he has scrambled. Yeah. And I don't know. I felt the explanation. It's one of those things where you can't just do it anywhere. But the idea that this is the center of all information, like all media's like forming here. So basically, it's just too much information in this area, and then he can't extract information from the Akashic record. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I felt that was an interesting way of setting it up there, because again, otherwise he'd just beat him. Right, and it did make sense. Like, it wasn't one of those things where it's just, if you wanted to nitpick it apart, you probably could, but it did help. Just kind of like, it was like, okay, here's the explanation why you can't do it. It's not so ridiculous that immediately when you're reading, you're like, hey, wait a minute. So you could just like read, continue to read, and then everything was fine. So I didn't really think about it too much. I was like, okay, his powers don't work here. That's fine. Let's move on. Yeah, no, of course. And that's what I mean, though. And that's kind of, I find the issue with Archer. Again, not as a character. I love his character. Yeah. So, but it just feels like he has to have to put like some kind of like threat in a sense that doesn't involve other people. You have to basically have this kind of kryptonite for him. Well, isn't it the same thing with Superman, though? So yeah, of course. But that's the thing, though. That was to me more of a short-sightedness of it. With just making him that powerful.
Yeah.
And then in this case, where it's a modern, it's made by modern writers for modern readers who. I just feel it's like, again, it's not terrible because the way the stories are told, it's not really about battles, which I think is the key thing there. Otherwise, it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like an anime, where just he's always wins just because he can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So probably that's why he's suitable for this kind of a more adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it might get a little bit ridiculous if they kind of find a device that can turn off his connection. Like some sort of interference thing. Because then I feel it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, oh, I have a kryptonite rock along. It's just one of those things where I feel DC does that quite a lot, where anytime you want to kind of up the danger for Superman, you just bring in a kryptonite thing. And that just kind of feels so cheap because it seems like everyone has a kryptonite chip.
Oh yeah, no, I mean but that's always how it's been. I mean, I think it's like the 70s, like the fun ones, with the covers. So I think they're basically the price of kryptonite must have been very low because everyone had it in all colors.
Yeah, but see, that's what I mean is that I think if they develop something like that for this comic, like if they actually start introducing that there's like this device that they can use to take Archer's power away, that I think would be a problem, because then you're going to see that popping up everywhere when they just want to explain it away, or they want to kind of be like, oh wait, but he doesn't have his powers here, so now he's going to have to rely on everything that he remembered. Like he has to actually use his own fists. There's no actual power backing him up. And I think that's just kind of like, no, you've introduced this character, you've already painted yourself into this corner. Now try to find your way out without saying like, oh, but actually you can take off I don't know, like there's actually this rope behind me that I can climb out of the room with. I don't know. Which, by the way, do people actually paint their floors?
Say again?
Do people actually paint their floors?
I'm not sure. Is that shown here somewhere?
No. But like, I'm just, because I use that metaphor of like painting yourself into the corner.
Oh, right. Yes. I've never seen someone actually do it. I've only seen it in comics.
Yeah, I've also only seen it in comics and animation, but like that must have happened at some point. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had that. I'm having trouble seeing it in like domestic houses, but maybe like for some more like sort of like warehouse or something like that. You just want to have it like all be sterile and white or something. Yeah, maybe.
You just have like those rollers.
Maybe.
But you're right, it's one of those, maybe it's just something that's a little bit old-fashioned that, we just remember because of the expression.
Maybe they did that back when they had like wooden planks on the floor or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here with wooden planks.
Yeah. Me too.
So.
All right.
So, but yeah, no, it's, what's called... There's a lot of things going on. It's I'm having trouble focusing on something specifically because it's easy to just move on to another thing because because of that thing that happened or
right, yeah.
So, but I did notice one other fun thing as well. Speaking of fun things to notice, I actually went back to volume 4 when they go through the whole explanation of their gambit. When they're like telling Morrison how they already won.
Oh yeah.
Because they're then already in that what's called that whole scene when Ivar and Armstrong go out to drinking, like pub crawling through time.
Yeah, and I see that one that looks like Archer.
Yeah, I mean, there's little things like that is fun, and I kind of compare them, and they were obviously different artists, but it was just kind of fun seeing the same layout and just so it really was him.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to love the. What's called naked Armstrong. No, but it's just
so unashamed and just walking everywhere. I mean, he's literally standing in front of hundreds of thousands of teenage girls completely naked with what is apparently a huge dick.
Oh yeah, no, it is. Let's see, because I wrote that down as its own thing here. And of course, my favorite line ever from Valiant Comics: "Sir, please move aside your intimidatingly large penis." But again, that's the thing. It's because here we have this battle, the two heroes fighting each other to represent their disagreements.
Yeah.
rather than just talking, because it's more exciting.
Of course.
But just the scenario there, just having Armstrong is again, it's just so amusing and drawn so well too.
Yeah, no, really.
And we discussed that too. I think it was in volume 3. When what's called regarding then with him sleeping with Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Maria? Yeah, Maria. That's the name, and I knew it was her. But it's a nice again variety in terms of the body type. Because it's this kind of how they say in Japan, this whole bara kind of thing, where it's like this really like manly kind of like construction.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but not just manly in terms of muscles, but in terms of like hair and just overall this setup. I don't know how to describe it. And his gut as well, like it has more of this sort of like strong fat thing I've heard.
Is this like some sort of like a fetish kind of thing?
Oh, some people would say it. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So some
Is
people.
Is this one of your fetishes, Humphrey?
No. So it's called.
No, not at all. Not at all. What are you talking about?
This is coming more as an artist.
Okay. Sure.
So yeah, no, because it's just very nice the way it looks in terms of. Like this post on page 79 in the first panel. Again, you don't usually see this kind of like body type drawn like this in a mainstream like comic.
Yeah.
Most of them, and again, it varies on the artists, but it's very common for artists to have one way of drawing men and one way of drawing women, and everyone just is drawn the same way pretty much.
Right. Well, I kind of like it because he does have muscles. He is very muscular, but he does have a gut.
So which comes from drinking. Yeah.
Right. Which I think it works well because that is the body type that you can get. You can have a lot of muscles, but you can still have a lot of fat as well. So your arms and your upper body. We see that a lot. There's a lot of bodybuilders who also have like a gut, but it is like a muscular gut. Obviously this is not a muscular gut. It is a fat gut.
It's a beer gut.
A beer belly.
So yeah, no, exactly. But also within that, silliness with him being naked, because again, I like it when you can have nudity just be funny. It's kind of like classic.
Yeah.
But I guess like the idea of also how, because I kind of like how Armstrong works as a counter to Archer in terms of like power abilities. Because even now with what's called Archer trying to show off with his new psionic powers, as he says, like the neural spike thing, like, I've had what's called hangovers worse than that. So, and then, trying to get mind controlled, but then he can actually hear like all the like lives inside of him.
Yeah, I really like that.
Because it's an easy thing to forget because, it's not always like relevant. But, that's just, a fraction of all the people inside of him, after that whole thing.
Yeah, which is also kind of interesting, like one of those things where, I don't know, I feel it's also one of those really, like in movies you can see that a lot. It's like really like cliched where someone with some sort of telepathic power will like touch someone who's so sad and always like gloomy, and then this happy-go-lucky psychic person will then touch them and then see what they're going through and then be all like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? Like you've probably seen that a lot in movies where they have that kind of stuff. And so I felt like this was also kind of done well, where it was like a quick thing where it basically kind of stopped Archer in his tracks. So it wasn't like one of those things where like Archer's all like, oh, you poor tortured man.
Yeah, no, he was overwhelmed though.
Yeah, it was like an overwhelming, and you can be overwhelmed because obviously that's like the thing. Like you don't know what other people's minds are like, and sometimes there is just like an overwhelming thing. Like like think about like if you suddenly found someone who had like tinnitus or like some sort of constant pain, and then you just suddenly got that from them, and you realize it was from them, and then obviously you'd have like a bit of a moment where you're just like, oh my God, what is this? And so I kind of like it that with Archer, it was also just one of those like, oh, wait, oh God. And then he just stops it. And the first thing he really says afterwards is just the thing with his penis. And
yeah, no, exactly.
But that's what I mean. It's like, it's not one of those things where he's like, he suddenly becomes friends with Armstrong now because he knows what kind of troubled past he has or what's going on in his mind, or like, I totally understand why you drink now because all that stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but that's the kind of thing though. It's
So is Mary Maria a good guy or not?
She's what I'd say like an anti-hero
Yeah, I
in
guess.
terms of. I mean, she has her like own little code of honor in that sense, and
Yeah.
her own plans. So no, she doesn't feel bad for stealing from Archer, even though they're basically like siblings. But but she doesn't want him to like die either.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of weird relationship. And then she slept with his best friend.
And was his mom, or did they say that that's not?
No, it
how
wasn't.
was?
So
Okay.
they did say that it wasn't.
Because that
Though
would have
I'm
been
honestly
weird.
almost a little disappointed because that.
No. Because I want Archer and Mary Maria to get together.
Oh,
That's my that's my don't do this, man. Don't do it.
yeah, no, I like them together too. It's kind of cute.
No, don't do it. Don't do it, man. You know something.
So, but what's called?
What do you know?
Well, I know what's going on in the recent comics and stuff. So, but no.
I think we need to start doing 2 episodes a week so that I can finally catch up.
But yeah, no, sure, I wouldn't mind. So, but it's just I don't know because I always like. It always gets complicated with time travel, which I actually like.
God, yeah.
I do like that when also Armstrong finds Mary Maria and it's how the holy heck did you get out here? Short answer or long answer? Short one first. Time travel. The long answer is pass.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. It's a great way of just like
is.
there.
It is, and that's also one of those things where I like at the end when they were kind of explaining all of it, I was also just reading it, and then I was trying to think about and trying to make sense of it, but then I just remembered what Rick said from Rick and Morty: just don't think about it. And it just makes it so much more easier to just enjoy it, to be like, all right, it just worked. Don't think about it. This is how it happened. Whatever.
Well, again,
I don't want to.
it has to do with how important it is. I feel.
Yeah, I
if
guess,
you're making a pure time travel story, then you feel it has to have at least some internal sense, even if you subscribe to different theories on it.
Yeah.
So like even if you I don't like the idea of the parallel universes from doing it. I get the point of it, but I don't know. I like the idea of one timeline that gets affected. But I don't get upset when it happens. It's just kind of so. But what about the last story, which was taken from issue 25. So just showing off now. Archer meeting his parents for the first time, or again.
Yeah.
What do you think of the whole thing? Did he do the right choice, or
Not telling them that they were the parents, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's just weird. Sure, he could tell them that he was their kid. Obviously the resemblance is also not the resemblance is there. But yeah, maybe it's one of those things where, I don't know how that is, but yeah, because I feel like maybe you could tell them that you're their child, but then just not mention what had happened to you. Like, you can say that you were at a religious thing, whatever, and now you're out of there, done. Because maybe it would be nice for them to have a relationship with him, in the future, because there's still a lot of things to happen. And I don't even understand what he actually said to them then when he left. I'm kind of wondering, well, what did he tell them? Why was he there?
That's true. Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, because I was just like, well, for all they know, it's just a random kid came up to their house and was like, hey, do you have a son? Yes. And then they get the whole story, and then he's like, all right then, bye. But I don't know, it's one of those things where it's up to everyone else, and I guess that's it. It's his decision not to go after him, and yeah, I think I like it. If it's a good idea for him, then fine. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass because I don't know. I have a loving family with 2 beautiful parents.
I was thinking
everything's great. And an awesome brother, of course. And you have an awesome sister. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, of course. I don't know. I like just some really sweet tragedy from it all. He's had this goal then ever since the first volume.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole all the stuff he's gone through and all this hardship, and to finally get to his goal and realize that it would probably only get worse if he told them. Because, all the, if nothing else, maybe them becoming targets or, just, bringing up these old wounds. They were just saying that it stopped hurting.
Right.
So, just, I don't know, I can see like its reasoning there. It's like, what, they finally, after all this time, like made peace with it all. So, and I like it. It's like I like when it doesn't have to be for every superhero character or anything, but when you have a nice tragedy like that, and it always loosens up their like character, I feel. I mean, it's like in Flash, for example. I mean, poor guy.
Yeah.
He just constantly like, okay, how about how many more family members can we kill? So, I mean, it can get silly, of course, and stuff like that. But I feel here it's a nice one where it's done without really a loss of life, and also the fact it's his decision as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not someone else coming in stopping, or it's like him being so mature and making a decision that he probably wouldn't like, but that he knows that it's best for them.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's very nice moment, I feel. Then we also get the whole start of the whole Archer cult, that they met in the third volume.
Yep. Yeah.
So, which again, kind of cool.
I thought it was just hilarious seeing all those sects again that were close to him, like the FEMA, and then of course the Cosplay Society, which I think is just so hilarious that literally in every single kind of like these comics when they make fun of cosplay, they never get the costumes right. You know what I mean? It's like, and when I'm looking at those two, like, obviously also they should be cosplaying the other person.
So, yeah, well, it's the shorter, so what's called stockier guy is playing Archer, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I also like that stuff.
Yeah,
I also like that stuff, because to me, it's, obviously some people will work better for certain body types if you want accuracy.
Yeah.
But, far be it for me to tell anyone that they shouldn't cosplay a certain character.
No. I'm just saying that, obviously from looking at them, one of them, like, especially because he even has the beard and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, you are an Armstrong. Just, yeah. But yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's fun. I always like that stuff. So it's, it's more about the desire for it more than like if it works or not.
Yeah.
So, but
and I also got to say I really do like Armstrong's final speech at the end there about the whole thing with the vices and stuff like that. I never looked at it. I never saw it that way. But when I was reading it, it kind of it didn't touch me. But you know what I mean? Like, well, how would you say? Like it didn't hit a nerve either. That's like too much. But it was like, it spoke to me. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, it just spoke to me, like this idea that you have these people who. Especially like with alcohol or with cigarettes or something like that, these people who don't have like the normal vices, who then kind of, how should you say, they do always have this kind of, they feel like this better than thou kind of feeling. And I guess it's one of those things, like they say something like with a joke, like I think it was on that 70s show, he's like, maybe his father would be sober, but not too sober. We know how those people are. And it is so much truth in that you have these people who kind of like Archer are becoming, I mean, just like in this comic, I mean, that was in that arc where Archer is already saying that, no, if the right people have this device, then they can be doing the right things. And I was right behind Archer and Armstrong there saying like, yeah, you're right. You cannot have one person doing the killing or being this force, because there are always some other people who see it a different way. It's just the same way with, like, how should I say, like with the Empire. There's a whole subreddit called, the Empire did nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's fun.
Because, I mean, if you're looking at it, like, they didn't do anything wrong. I mean, yeah, they're a huge militant force, but, the rebels are killing many more people and all that kind of stuff. And even then, I mean, if you think about, like, there are, the Vikings were considered the terrorists of their age. Because when spring came around, suddenly all these Vikings came to places and killed everyone, took all the gold, and then they left again. And now we celebrate them. Think they're cool, make TV shows out of them and stuff like that.
Well, for me, that's more like just this whole, like, time passing.
Yeah,
because I always bring up like Genghis Khan. This can be talked about, jovially.
Right.
But absolutely, I mean, hits it right on the head with all these things. It's all, it's always us against them. I'm good, you're evil. It's not that slaughter is bad, but who is getting slaughtered?
Exactly.
So, I mean, they kind of brought that up, remember way back with Eternal Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the whole thing, it's, you see, if we kill all these Shadow Men people, or this, like, death cult,
yeah,
they're more than we are. And if we kill them all, then more lives have died. So, yeah, but they're not us. And again, I'm not saying they were wrong in that sense, because they did seem to be just evil.
Well, I mean, we had a whole almost, could you consider it a fight?
Well, no, that was more about gun,
well, that was the gun control,
gun control stuff.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we were kind of got really heated on that episode.
Yeah, no, but again, that's an interesting topic there. But that's also, what I mean. I like that, too, that he brings it up.
Yeah, well, that's what I think is interesting about this is where, before when we started reading Armstrong, I didn't like it at all. Just because it was kind of like, oh, there's this prissy kind of Catholic kid. I mean, obviously not Catholic, but, and then this drunk loudmouth. But they have so much character that was hidden behind all that. And I just really, they are becoming some of my favorite characters in this Valiant universe, because especially just this whole thing that it really does feel like this mentor and trainee thing, which is pretty obvious from the beginning. But here you really see it, that he is such a good teacher as well, that he has this moment where he's like, here's my thing, like, here's a pint. I'm telling you all this stuff, like you judge and reject things out of hand, and well, then you're not really the kind of student I want, all that kind of stuff. And I just love this idea that he gives him a choice. And again, as frustrating as it is to be like, I'm asking you to choose, and then end of comic, basically. I don't know. It's just, I want to know how he chose. Because that's the thing. Like, then maybe he chose wrong, because he does become that emperor later or earlier or whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, again, as it says there, it's not there. It's on the few pages later. The next delinquents. Oh yeah, the Archies. Yeah. But then the little blurb at the bottom there. Next, the delinquents. Which is soon enough.
Is that their thing?
Yeah, well, it's a crossover.
Oh.
So, and it's soon enough. I think it's after the one that's next.
Who are the delinquents? I thought they were the.
No, that's the renegades you're thinking of.
Who are the delinquents then?
It's a new thing.
Oh.
And that's kind of my point here too, in the sense of, I mean, this isn't the last volume of Archer and Armstrong. There is a volume 7.
Yeah.
But this is the last of the actual story.
Wait, then what's in the 7th one?
It's the remaining 2 issues, but they're more like little standalone little things.
Oh, okay, cool.
So along with some one shots and stuff. Like I think it has the 1% one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And little things like that. So it's kind of like this is the end, basically, like of the main storyline. So I guess what I'd ask just overall, and you kind of did it a bit by saying how you didn't like it at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been 6 volumes in the making, so to speak. We've had him do all kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's you went from not really caring to actually liking them a lot now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
they grew on me.
Hmm?
They grew on me.
Yes. I mean, again, it's an interesting. I think it's just the whole overall tone and feel of it that makes it stand out a lot, especially from the original series as well. Because before this reboot, I remember still hearing about that without knowing what it was. Because if you have like a superhero universe, this kind of like setup and characters, definitely feels a little bit more out of place and also a little more interesting. And I think that's what's always like resonated with people. He's not the first time you have, like this small guy and big guy and all that stuff. That's classic.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But I don't know, I guess the overall scenario, and it's also one of the easiest ones to pitch to people. I was talking with a guy back in the studio. So because it was way back. I still had I think it was the Exo Man of War Volume 7, open on my Surface when I took it out.
Yeah.
So, and he saw that, oh, what's that? and I had to like stop myself from just everything out. So I mentioned it was just the whole Valiant thing, and I mentioned Archer and Armstrong, and that immediately gets his attention because when you say then like was basically an immortal drunk and this like a super Christian assassin was meant to kill him who become friends. Like the really short end on it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole thing. They're like this immortal drunk and the assassin meant to kill him. Like there's all these sort of like oxymorons within it. So like this immortal and then the assassin meant to kill. I think that just really helps like get your interest. Then it gets all this other stuff on top of it in terms of the sects and all the other crazy stuff they go through.
Yeah.
But the key thing is especially for anything like this with a duo, obviously the duo has to work. And I feel it works really well. It's been, just a fun, unorthodox, adventure. So playing with a lot of different ideas and.
So can you explain to me the last, like on the page 116, there's that Ouroboros. What is that?
It's the boon.
The big one, the one that was used at the beginning?
Yep. Because there's all the pieces that they had to take together, remember?
But then, how does this work? God, I just need to stop thinking about it because, like...
Well, again, it's the whole time travel stuff, and the far away is the whole issue with that. It's sort of like where time is constant.
Yeah.
So basically, that's where it came from. Then what's called...
How can they get all the pieces from the future and then bring it back to the past so that it affects the stuff in the future?
Yeah, again, it gets crazy with those things.
Where does the circle start, man? Where does it start? See, this is the thing. Just don't think about it. I mean, because like, I like the one explanation that they gave though. I was like, okay, I can't think about this. Was when Archer says something about like, or Armstrong asked like, well, why did you go into the future then if you had already done it? And it's like, well, because if we didn't do it, then we wouldn't have had done it. And it's like, but.
Yeah, no, it's a stable time loop kind of concept.
But the loop has to start somewhere.
No, but like if you compare it to remember that short arc in Calvin and Hobbes, where
I don't know, maybe
where basically Calvin's supposed to do his homework, but he doesn't want to, so instead he'll use the time machine to travel to the future to where it's finished.
Yeah, but he
meets his, I mean, again, he meets his future self, which also is, annoying.
Yeah.
But still, it's just fun there because they're like, so you got the homework? So, well, no, I didn't do the homework. What? They fight. No, wait, you know who the problem is? It's the middle Calvin, the one who should have been doing the work. You're the previous Calvin, and I'm the final Calvin. We need to get the middle Calvin.
Yeah, but see, that's just funny because that's like, I mean, okay, we're kind of suspending disbelief here,
Yeah, I mean,
Hobbes,
it's there to play with Calvin's personality.
Yeah, and also Calvin is the idea that, this is all in his imagination anyway. Like, we don't assume that when he becomes Spaceman Spiff, he's actually Spaceman Spiff.
Yeah, we do.
But with this, but this is actually happening in reality. Technically, the reality outside our window. So there have to be some sort of physics laws that are at play here. And I don't know, it bugs me, and I'm getting like my head is like hurting from just thinking about all this stuff now. And that's what I mean is like I just have to stop thinking about it. I can't discuss like the time travel of these kind of things, which I said at the beginning of the podcast already, like of like our entire catalog of podcasts. I don't necessarily like time travel because it never makes any sense. Because you just can't explain this. You can't explain it.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I agree. But to me, part of it is where, like, with time travel, I feel it works more because, I mean, if you're already agreeing with the idea of, people being able to transport themselves through the timeline,
yeah,
regardless of, the effects it has, I just feel then it's like, just gets interesting. But of course, the issue is as well the whole idea of it's the back and forth, I think, that people also get a bit annoyed with. Like, if you have something like Back to the Future, it's more about the setting where they get to the time travel. You're like, okay, what if a modern day person goes, into the past? That's the key point, and they stay there till they get themselves back. But with this kind of back and forth and keeping track of it all and meeting themselves, keeping the stable time loop.
Mm-hmm.
Again, meeting like the old old Armstrong, as a knight. And then the whole idea, like, how can I remember seeing myself? But then he was like drunk or high or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. But those sort of things that I've also said that I dislike. Because it's, you have to do it, because if you don't, it won't happen. But it kind of becomes like those self-fulfilling prophecies things where it wouldn't happen if you didn't know about it. So if they hadn't appeared in the past there, then they wouldn't have done the things that they told them to do. Yes, it gets complicated. So, but it's still kind of fun too. I mean, it's just so overly complicated that I feel it just kind of makes it really interesting.
Yeah, but I just have this thing that I want to explain. I just want to understand how it works, but I guess I just have to, not think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just kind of an odd thing, because you kind of feel like would there not been ways of killing the guy? Because they basically killed him anyways, so it's not like it was a qualm in that sense.
Yeah, I guess.
The part of me kind of also wonders, like, would it not have been easier as to if you're traveling back in time anyways, just killing him as a baby or whatever?
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's still cool, the whole idea. I mean, such a, like, I don't know, it's kind of like when in a good movie, where it's very clear that the villain is a lot stronger. Mm-hmm. And, it's like he's chasing the hero, or, heroes, and they're like, they're like almost crawling now. All they've tried hasn't worked. And like, aha, I've got you now. And then it turns out it was like all, according to the plan. So then, like, it turns out that they've led him to this one point where, I don't know, the rocket engines, will turn on and like flame him apart, or
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and this was just done to such an extreme extent with that it's, okay, we traveled back in time to set all of this up so that you'd build this, stage and stand right here where this time portal will open and take you to the far away where you'll die because of a dinosaur.
Well, I mean, I don't think they knew about the dinosaur. They just wanted to put him in a place where he would be gone.
Yeah, and of course, but still. So, but
they could have saved the Justin Bieber ripoff.
Yeah, it was always fun.
Yeah.
Pretty extreme.
I thought it didn't say his name at first. Like, didn't say his name at first. It was just like this Canadian YouTube star or whatever it was.
So yeah, no, exactly. So whatever his name was, it was
Percy Vale. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, Percy Vale.
So yeah, no, but it's always fun stuff like that. And the thing is, this is one of those. Like, I mean, he's a bit too recent to to be like a classic, but it's one of those things where it's a parody and he has a role to fill, so it's not so much that you have to know who what's called Justin Bieber is.
Yeah, of course.
Like he's an archetype he's playing.
It was also the same thing. You didn't need to know who all the celebrities were.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, the only ones you sort of had to know in that sense, in terms of them, they brought up themselves. Like with Jackie Kennedy and all that. I mean, and even then, that's not really necessary in the grand scheme of things. It was just a scene.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's. I think we've done most things here. Yeah, no, I think that's about it, really. So, all right. If we're going to be a bit like even long, I mean, it's still been about an hour. So, but it was a lot of like back and forth, and yeah. So, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed myself as well. Again, Fred Van Lente is off the book now. It's going to be a different writer for the next series with them. I'm not sure if he's the writer for Delinquent, so we'll have to see. But but yeah, no, I think he's done a good job with this. It's I mean, this is his thing basically. I always think that's kind of interesting with, especially with the setup it is with American comics, where the artists, are kind of like thrown to the side.
Yeah.
Well, not thrown to the side, but it's very rare they have like a consistent artist for everything. So this really is Fred Van Lente's Archer and Armstrong, and just like with just like with Robert Venditti for X-O Manowar, like this it's not just like picking up a character. They've like really defined this reboot.
Well, I think that is one of those things where it's just because the writer is kind of guiding the whole thing. I mean, he kind of knows what he wants to do with the story and all that stuff. I mean, if you're switching writers every issue or every couple of issues, you're going to have problems, or you're going to have issues with all the different writers wanting to go different paths. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that you want to keep the same writer and with the same artist. I mean, they basically just have to draw the same drawings. I mean, just the same characters doing their own style. So, yeah, it makes sense to switch out artists more than they do writers.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. No, I get that. So, but, yeah, it's just the whole idea of, just the, like, I just want to say, sort of like, if Fred Van Lente's listening.
Which he's not.
But if he is, like, thank you, for some really awesome stories, some really weird stories. And reintroducing the world to, is a very interesting duo. So, and I'll have to get back to, I've read a little bit of their next series, so I haven't finished reading it. So, but it's been good times.
Yeah, we'll get to it eventually.
Exactly. Well, that was the 41st episode of Hardcast, detailing Archer and Armstrong, Volume 6, American Wasteland. For more content from me and Chris, follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Aaron and at Christian D. Claus. You can listen to our entire backlog of episodes on podbean.com/ValiantHardcast. Remember to like us on Facebook.com/ValiantHardcast for news and reactions related to Valiant. You can also discuss the episode on our subreddit. So, just simply labeled Hardcast. Catch us